partying.
Right.
There wasn't much sunlight in those days, perhaps 4 to 5 hours of sunlight per day. According to the Bach saga, the Yuletide culminated on December 24th, when certain fertility rites were performed, and December 25th was the birth date of the sun, S-U-N. The day when the sun started to be reborn and stayed longer in the sky each day. So the Romans had a winter solstice festival called Santalia, which we get some Christmas traditions from as well.
Okay, so what do we have? So in the Christmas festival that they have today, amongst those of the Hebraic order, amongst those who acknowledge the will of the Father, the oracles of the Most High, and are obedient to His will, any practice outside of the covenant is classified as adulterous or paganistic practices.
Exactly.
So when we have our historian telling us that Yuletide festivals began long before the birth of the Messiah, it must have some pagan origin.
It must have.
Okay, all right. And as you mentioned earlier, at the same time in Rome, they were observing a feast called Saturnalia as well. Okay. And I found it very, very interesting that December the 25th is the birth of the sun. You know what? I'm not going to say anymore. Let's get back to our clip.
The winter solstice, Father.
Uh-oh, did he say winter solstice? Let's go back here.
Around December 21st, the winter solstice, fathers and sons would drag home the biggest log they could find and set it on fire. The Yule log warmed, but it also looked ahead. Each spark was said to represent a pig or calf to be born in the spring. Also dragged inside were evergreens, the one plant that could make it through a Norse winter. Evergreens proved that life persisted in this dark time.
There's a natural attraction to that which lives through the winter when one is struggling to survive through the winter. The evergreen is that part of nature that seems impervious to the coming of winter and the diminishing of the sun. And so it's an absolutely natural symbol, one which I think you react to almost without thinking about.
For as long as the Yule log burned, about 12 days, feasting and revelry reigned supreme. In fact, this was one of the few times that meat was abundant.
Okay, now I'm going to stop right there, Elder. Elder, this is some of the this is how the 12 days of Christmas. I mean, we're talking about a Germanic or Scandinavian holiday, okay, that was being acknowledged and practiced thousands of years before the birth of the Messiah. Okay, we're talking about a Eurocentric event. The 12 days of Christmas is associated with the 12 days that it took to burn the Yule log. Okay, and this is how it goes, as I understand it. On the 12th day of Christmas, and I'm starting in the back and work myself forward. On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10 lords a leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming. This represents the 7th day. 6 geese a laying on the 6th day, 5 golden rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. Okay. The question that we have is, what does this have to do with the birth of the Messiah?
Exactly.
What does the Yule log? What does the 12 days of Christmas, which we now know deals with the Yule log? All right, have to do with the birth of the Messiah?
And this is the question that people need to ask themselves. And you know, when we say that we were ignorant of these things, you know, there's a difference in ignorance and stupidity. When you're ignorant, it means you just don't know. And most people, if they don't take the time to learn, then you do things out of tradition without ever having to ask where these traditions come from. And so today we're just breaking down where the traditions come from.
Here's another secular material. When the people of ancient UK, United Kingdom, and Scandinavia, and pretty much all of Europe adopted the Christian religion, all were forced to believe it. All were forced to believe it by holy wars, the Holy Crusades.
Oh yes.
Christmas and winter solstice festivals were merged into one by the Catholic clergy.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that we have been communicating for many, many years. That if a person is a Baptist, if they are a Presbyterian, if they're a Mormon, if they're a Jehovah's Witness and so forth, right, you are in fact a Catholic. If you hold to the central teachings and practices of Catholicism, such as the Feast of Saturnalia,
Yes.
the Yuletide rituals, the so-called 12 days of Christmas and so forth. All of these things were adopted by the early Catholic Church.
And forced. Forced through holy wars. Forced to merge the paganistic practice with Christian practices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know, people, let me tell you, we are about to get deeper. We're about to get deeper and deeper and deeper. Call your mother. Call your father, your grandmother, Pookie, Bebe, Tyrone, Willie, Shaniqua, Tawana. Call everybody, right? Because let me tell you something. The title of this show is Paganism, the Hidden Religion. Paganism, the Hidden Religion. Today, you will have an opportunity to see if indeed you are practicing the code of ethics of the Most High, or if you're practicing the code of ethics of another God. Okay? All right, here we go.
For the long winter.
There is a necessity to kill most of the cattle, because you can't keep them alive over the winter when there's nothing to feed them on. You keep a few alive for breeding. But there is an opportunity for a great blowout, for a great feast. Time to party.
Time to potty.
The party raged inside in defiance of winter's deadly howl.
There is a spooky feel about the northern Yuletide festivals. You may be all right there in the hall with the blazing fires, but outside there are demons, there are spirits.
Demons on the inside.
In Germany, the pagan god Odin lent his name to this midwinter holiday. Early Germans were terrified of Odin, whose nocturnal flights decided who would prosper or perish in the coming year.
What?
Later, we'd see another Christmas sky rider, Santa Claus. But for now, staying in...
What? Now, hold on. Let's back up here a little bit.
At this...
Elder, you got to talk to me about this here. Now, what did we just see here? I'm going to back up to this gentleman here. Let's go here.
To this midwinter holiday. Early Germans were terrified of Odin, whose nocturnal flights decided who would prosper or perish in the coming year.
Elder, you got to talk to me.
Amazing. You know, here we see a tradition that through the years was passed down and refined to what we now know as a Santa Claus. And here are people in a European continent afraid of a saint, a nocturnal rider, who would determine the fate of an individual by whether they were good or bad.
Right.
So here we see the people taking their children to sit, you know, in the malls, to sit on this Santa Claus lap. And basically what they're doing is following the same tradition. But do they know where the tradition originated?
Right. Okay, so as I understand it, what our commentator just said here, we have a Germanic god by the name of Odin, who's nocturnal. That means that he moves at night, basically. Okay, and he rewards people based upon who's been good or bad. He determines who's good, who's bad. Now, this is a pagan god named Odin, right? And here you have the commentator says, now we're going to see someone who's coming in this dispensation, right, who's doing the exact same thing, but coming under the name of Santa Claus, who's nocturnal, okay, who knows when you've been good or bad, but he's a god. And one of the things that we've been communicating for a long time to people is that, look, you know, the little thing that they have for Santa Claus is that he knows when you've been good, he knows when you've been bad. He flies from one end of the earth to the next.